Hello out there. Let's see. I don't have anything in my headphones. I apologize. I hit start too soon. Test, test. Wait, I can go here. Mute, unmute? No, still nothing. It's okay. I think it's going out to you. It's just not going out to me in my headphones. But I'll just keep the headphones on for the look. I guess it doesn't matter. You know what? I'll try it without headphones. I do headphones all the time. And all right. Welcome to Noah's Groovecast. This is my podcast, and I've started doing it on Monday mornings. And we got through, it's been an interesting journey so far. Hit 30 episodes as of, I think it might have been last year. And like a lot of different things that I do, it's gone through different phases. And this time I'm doing about 30 minutes on Monday mornings. And so good morning out there. I set my alarm for 5:45 this morning, and I intended to get up and run and do some exercise. And I did that last Monday. Did not happen this Monday, so I'm still waking up a little bit. So bear with me, or be easy on me. I've got my kombucha here. A little commercial for kombucha. Doesn't show up so well there. Synergy. I don't know if it means anything or not, but when I started drinking this, I stopped getting sick. Not completely. I started drinking this, and then I didn't get sick for like 5 years in a row or something. And then I did get COVID, so it didn't stop COVID. But so, like I said, my goal is to do this every Monday from 8 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Going forward with this podcast, I'm not intending to do live guests, although I will be doing features, and sort of a focal point of the this 30-minute podcast is going to be sharing a song and a recorded song and just talking about it and what does it mean and looking at the lyrics and then also just talking about every topic under the sun. As I go for runs, I'm going to be writing down, the thoughts that I think are the best thoughts or most interesting things to think about or that I have to speak about that might be helpful to somebody out there. And then I'll go through those. So I've got some of those. But today I think I'm actually going to talk about some stuff that I think most of the time I'm going to keep this on uh, music and sort of thought or philosophy or spirituality or maybe even politics a little bit. But today, maybe I'll start off by talking about LeBron James. I'm not. I have no intention to be a sportscaster or anything like that, but I do. I One of my biggest hobbies of my life has been basketball. I've played pickup basketball my entire life. I love it, and I watch the sport a lot. Um, I don't. I won't say it's the greatest sport ever or anything like that. It's the one that I know, and that's why I watch it. Although I do have a bias towards, I think it's a really good sport. Uh, and it's an interesting sport from different vantage points. You know, one being the what the kind of the sport culture that it has is unique, and sort of the attitude, the approach it's just different. Um, but also the athleticism that it requires and kind of how it makes you move your body is different. And but won't get into all that. But it's an interesting sport. And then the team component. I also like that it's a 5-person game. To me, 5 is a really good number for a team. There's dynamics, and there's enough dynamics that it keeps things interesting. But it's also not so many that it's pretty manageable, and you can focus and really figure out how to work well with a small group of people. And for me, I really like that. But Okay, we'll start with LeBron James. I won't dwell on it too much, and I'm going to speak on this in a way that maybe is different. I think I didn't want to say too much, but I don't know. I was walking the other day, and I was like, you know what? I need to say something about LeBron James. So here's what I'll say. I think he's one of the greatest players that's ever played the game. But to me, a huge part of why I watch sports and what I enjoy sports is the culture component of it as well. And the stars or celebrities, they take on significance. They take on cultural significance, and they have cultural impact because they become role models. They're role models, and I'm not so interested in like the argument of who is the best player or not. I think there's so many different players, and it's kind of impossible to say one's the greatest player. Um, I just think those arguments uh, like to me, Steph Curry is one of the best players that's ever played. You watch him play, and okay, his maybe stature limits him in terms of his defensive presence, but he's still a bit of a nuisance, and he can be a nuisance on the defensive end. But he does things that nobody else does, and he has a very significant impact on the game. There's all right, but let's just get to. I just want to throw out there, and I want to move from this topic because I'm not really that interested in talking about basketball and sports. But I think uh, LeBron, believe it or not, doesn't get quite the credit that he probably should get in a number of different areas. But I also think it's very true that there are certain ways that he's diminished the game because of you see so many crybabies out there. You see so many crybabies out there on the court, and the game has definitely moved in a direction that is a little bit less than. But although there are some really strong young players that seem to be playing actual real basketball, but uh, the amount of whining to referees, I just think that's a bad example. I think it's a bad attitude. It's like because the truth is, and that's basketball is a metaphor for life, just like every sport, and things are going to happen that aren't fair. But a good role model is just going to overcome those things. He's not going to cry about them, and so to me, that's one of the most shameful things about the current state of basketball is just all the whining, like grown men whining. And so maybe that's my biggest complaint with LeBron is I feel like he's helped usher in the whining era, and I laugh about it, but it has ramifications outside of basketball because for anybody that watches and looks up to these athletes, they will tend to emulate them, and so it does actually matter to the bigger scheme of things, insofar as basketball's reach into the broader culture is. All right, so okay, that's what I wanted to say about LeBron James. But as a player, he's a phenomenal player, and he's I don't know. I like LeBron James. So sue me. I think he's an interesting player, and there's a lot to like about him. But all right. So let me dive into some of these. Was there anything else here for random thoughts? Let me drink some more kombucha. All right, I've got this list. We're going to talk about a few things on Monday morning. Hopefully some of the stuff that I say will be useful to you guys. These are just different things that I'm thinking. It'll help me think, and maybe it's useful thinking to people out there as well. And all right, so one of the things I've got written down here is reacting versus responding. And so just write down these kind of like tidbits that kind of allow me to go from there, and then I'll speak atemporaneously. Is that a word? Is that the right word? About them. Reacting versus responding. I think this is something that I'm thinking about more, or trying to make myself more conscious of in any particular moment. In anything that I'm doing, many times this might be a short bit, but you might experience something that elicits an emotional reaction. Something that's, let's say, it makes you angry. Somebody does something that's not right. It's not fair. It's disrespectful, and it crosses a line. It crosses a boundary for you, or it's insulting, or whatever it is. And so you might be inclined to become angry at this person. And I think it's something I am thinking about more, and it deserves more thought. To just slow down and try to think before you respond. Because if you just instantly react, you allow the anger to take control of you and make those decisions. And there's probably better decisions to be made. I think sometimes you have to just react. There are situations where there's no time to think and you just got to react. But most situations, you've got time to think. And I think acting or reacting in anger or some kind of negative emotion is typically going to get you a negative result. And it corrupts your state of being. And you allow somebody else's behavior, something somebody else does, to affect you, and you allow them in some way to control you. It shows that something they do has power over you. And I think this particular conversation, it's more convoluted. It's more subtle. Like I would push back against the idea that nobody has any control over you. I think that's kind of a ridiculous idea. We all have certain degrees of control over each other. We all have certain degrees of influence over each other. I mean, you could even boil it down to make the point very, very easy to make. You could just talk about physical control. People take physical control of other people, and then it's pretty indisputable that somebody else has influence over you. But there's a whole other spectrum of things that people can do that you allow to have power over you, that don't have to have power over you. And it's so, I think preserving your peace, your state of being, whatever your energy is, that matters. And so it's better to be, you can respond to somebody that angers you. It's sort of putting the focus or the attention where it should be. So if somebody does something that's disrespectful, a lot of times, and I would say probably most of the time, that reflects on them. It reveals something about them, and it probably doesn't have a lot to do with you. You always got to think about every situation, because sometimes it might be you. But a lot of times it has a lot to do with something somebody else is going through, or something that's happened to them in the past, or that they woke up on the wrong side of the bed, something really simple. And so rather than reacting so quickly, in fact, I just watched a video that I think actually speaks to this really well. I don't know if it's something that just happened, but some host a co-host of a show was showing something. They were showing like some cupcakes, and one person spoke about the paper on the cupcakes and was pointing out that there was paper. and the other person thought she was making a joke that she was going to eat the paper, and so she commented on, like, tried to play along with what she thought was a joke. But the person that was talking about the paper, we'll call person A person B. Person A is talking about the paper. Person B is the co-host. The person talking about the paper, she thought that the co-host was being passive aggressive and was making fun of her, was mocking her and kind of like making her seem like a child that would eat paper and needs to be, just diminishing her. And so there was a misunderstanding that just sort of birthed or spawned from this just moment of where something was said and it could be taken. There was just a miscommunication, and it really was that. And then one person took it the wrong way, saw the other person as passive aggressive, and now this person was hostile, and this person had no idea why the other person was hostile. They thought they were just having a good time, and now they're upset at each other, or one person upset at the person on live TV. She doesn't know how to handle it. She probably says things that come across as very passive aggressive because now of the new context, but that she doesn't understand. And it just kind of spirals out of control a little bit. And then I saw something else today that happened to come up in my feed that was on the same thing, where the person that got frustrated and thought the other person was passive aggressive is now talking about that in other shows and saying this person was nasty. And you just blow this thing up that's nothing into something. Make drama and division out of a misunderstanding that was completely innocent and meant nothing. All that does is damage. There's no point to that whatsoever. You've just created division and damage for no reason. And so you take perfectly good people and you turn them into enemies. Now, I don't know that you can really blame either one. It's a misunderstanding. But hopefully, people can. So this is the point of responding versus reacting. Because if these people responded, which I think one did respond more than the other, because the person that was confused as to why is this other person frustrated, she was trying to figure out why, and I think she eventually did. When later there was a moment where she had a look of realization, and there was something else that was communicated that kind of revealed what actually happened. And so one person kind of realized it. And so the reacting is just this anger that now you're mad and you feel like you're being defensive and whatnot. And that allows for things to just that allows for trouble to come out of nothing. You make things worse than they otherwise would be. But let's take it one step further and then say responding can also address things that are actual problems and can sort of deal with those problems. It can eradicate those problems. Because responding, you actually take time to think about what's going on, and you bring a different energy to what's going on. And so you don't get caught up in the reactive energy that spirals out of control. You take an outside approach and address it with thought that could actually mitigate and deal with this particular issue. And so a lot of times that's going to be more peace oriented. It's going to be, you're going to be trying to address things that are broader than this particular little issue, and not let this little thing spiral into something much bigger. All right. Okay, I've got this one written down. The problem of infinitely repeatable business as a goal. I'm excited actually to talk about this one. This thought came to me when I was on the run, and so as I try to push forward in my business, which is music, which maybe shouldn't be a business, but it is, and maybe there's no should or shouldn't. but that's the business that I'm in, and so as I try to push forward in this business, one of the things you got to figure out is you got to get a repeatable income. I mean, that's what a job is, right? So you got to figure out how to make. You can't do something that's only going to be one time. And so that's kind of in the nature of my job to a certain extent is when I do a gig, there's for like a private event, that one is probably never going to happen again. It's a one-time thing like a wedding or a corporate event. Maybe with the corporate event, you might have another one next year. But with a lot of weddings, those are one-off events. And the only reason you can have a sustainable wedding business is because there's just so many people that are having weddings that even if they're one-off events, there's always another one. But it's having a repeatable business. And so having the problem of infinitely repeatable business as a goal. So as I try to learn, one of the things I've done over recent years is just listen and study a lot to people talking about business and different strategies for marketing and for business and how to grow social media channels or YouTube channels or how to grow your business, all that kind of stuff. And my monitor thing is kind of flickering. I've got an external monitor, and I feel like maybe one of the cables is a little bit loose, but I'll deal with that a little bit later. The problem of infinitely repeatable business as a goal. So here's why. Okay, I think fundamentally it's probably that goal in and of itself is kind of a bad goal because the goal should be to do something that has a positive benefit to the broader culture, to the broader society. Like if you're living with a group of 10 people in, like a teepee. if you're living with let's boil it down to society is made up of 10 people. It just doesn't matter. My point is, it doesn't matter how big the society is. Your goal should be doing something that's going to have a benefit on the people around you. And not everything is going to be something that needs to be repeated. Not everything is going to be a task that needs to be repeated. And so if your goal is you're always looking for something that's going to be repeatable, and that's kind of how what the society sets up. Everyone has to figure out how to do something, either how to make a whole ton of money or how to have recurring income, dependable recurring income. But yeah, the point is, we should be looking to be solving. We should be looking to be solving problems and offering benefits. But sometimes, once that you could learn how to solve a problem. You don't need to, once the problem's solved, you don't need to keep solving it over and over again or figuring out how to solve it a little bit better. Like it's probably better that we move on to something else. And I think the problem that this inevitably creates, and I guess I could sum it up, is it loops people into trying to figure out how they can create that recurring income rather than how they can actually make a positive difference. And I think many times people are trying to figure out how to become needed rather than helpful. So if you can create a need somewhere, if you can create a dependency, like to some extent I think that's what a lot of different entertainment is. My monitor is really going out. Something's happening. Give me 1 second. It's weird. Maybe it's just going out. Flickering. Yeah, I think many people in the society, and they're set up to do that. It's the nature of the the financial burden that you have, the ends that you have to meet, the ends that you have to make meet, the certain amount of money that you have to come up with every month, it forces you to look for something that can be repeatable, and so you're looking for something that people need on a monthly basis or on a repeated basis. So there are many industries that are like that, like food or utilities, different things that you might work in, where those people there's a demand for it that's an ongoing demand that's never going to subside. But there are other things that maybe are problems that need to be addressed, that once they're addressed, that work is not needed that work does not need to be done anymore. Maybe an example to some extent would be, I don't think this is a good example, but you could look at the automotive industry and gas versus electric vehicles, or even what I think people should do is sell their cars, and cities should become more driven by bicycles. Bicycles should be the way to get around. I don't think there's really that much of a need for vehicles. I think there's so much waste and so much upkeep and cost that's associated with the maintenance of vehicles, and I think it's immense. If you actually calculate it all, I think it would be shocking. And if you created societies that were more thoughtful, or if you created cities or communities that were more thoughtful in their organization, you could rely primarily on cycling to get around, and it would be efficient. It would be all you need, super easy to maintain, and a huge benefit would be people would be way healthier. And so you would actually have lower medical costs as well. So I think that and I think people would be psychologically happier and physically healthier, psychologically healthier, physically healthier in all the ways. It's nice to be outside riding a bike. It just is. If the weather's good, it's nice. It feels great. And I think there's so much that the natural state of the world has to offer for spiritual and physical healing. It doesn't that's something that maybe a lot of people are coming around to, is that a lot of medicine is not medicine, and that you're just masking symptoms with drugs. And so you could a lot of the issues that people experience can be dealt with through behavioral choices, and diet and behavior. And so I think I guess I probably deviated from the topic slightly there, but I think it's related. If you don't have that burden of a certain amount of money that you have to come up with all the time, and this is, I think, maybe a direction like Elon Musk talks about it, that he doesn't think, he envisions a society, a future where they're building robots, and that everything's going to be automated, and so you're not going to actually have to do anything. You're not going to have to do anything. You're going to have your freedom of choice to do whatever you want. Hopefully in that society, people choose to overall still do productive things. Like, it doesn't, because of all your basic needs are met, doesn't mean that there aren't really positive roles that you can still fulfill, and things that society could benefit from. But Elon's idea is that he called it like net or a universal high income. People talk about universal basic income, and I thought that was an interesting slight twist. Universal high income, where it says anything that you want at any moment, you can get it for free. And he thinks that version of society isn't all that far off. I've thought for quite a long time that, that's the direction we're all headed, right? Is that the idea is everything can be automated and nobody has to work anymore. So to me, I don't think that that's a bad thing at all. I think that's fundamentally a good thing. So I don't know why people are against that idea. Um, there's a certain way which people could be against that idea, in that if a society allows people to be lazy, it helps to inspire other bad habits, and it's probably going to degrade the society, and that will certainly be foreboding of bad things to come. You need to have a mature, high functioning society in order for it to be successful. Otherwise, it's going to devolve and degrade and probably fall apart. And you can say how we're so powerful, we have so much power, we have everything we need, or whatever. But the how is answered by reality. Reality tells you that story, and you can't ever really exactly know. You don't necessarily ever know how. There's probably a million possibilities, and it will be one of them. But you're when you degrade your sort of moral fiber, you are greatly enhancing the probability that one of those million things is going to happen, or one of those infinite things is going to happen. But the problem of infinitely repeatable business as a goal. I'm about 30 minutes into the podcast already. I mean, I could talk about these things forever. Just think, to wrap it up, overall, people should be looking for. I think society sets us up a little bit in a bad way, where that's the game, is that you have to figure out how to make what you're doing repeatable. And for those things that shouldn't be that don't need to be repeatable, then what people end up doing is they look for ways to create dependencies that are completely unnecessary. And really, all we should be looking to do as a society is fix problems and make things better. And sometimes that's an ongoing thing, like the food industry, like groceries. And sometimes that's not, like maybe a cultural issue, some kind of artistic need, maybe certain industries that rise up, like technologies that rise up, but are not necessary, or there are better solutions. Then you need to be able to move through that and not get stuck in this. And so fundamentally, that has to do with the society, people caring about each other and paying attention, and the makeup of it, the government actually caring about its people, and looking for where help is needed, where support is needed in order to make different transitions, and and people looking out for each other and actually caring about each other, even if we have 300 plus million people, and we can't all know each other, that we hold each other, we hold ourselves accountable, we hold each other accountable, we try to be the best that we can be, and that way everyone can trust each other, because you can quickly see that everyone is trying to be upstanding, and it greatly helps everyone to be upstanding when others are doing the same, and when everyone's working together and helping each other. That makes it a lot easier to be upstanding, because there's support, and when you're not, I mean, I know we'll get off this topic, but I lived in California for a bit, and for a little stretch, I was living in my car. I feel like, to me, I don't know, maybe people have different views. It's not technically homeless. I feel like your home is your car, but in a certain way, it's kind of there's crossover, and as a result, I got to know different homeless people, and I saw the struggles that different people are going through, and we've all seen the videos and stuff on YouTube of you know, people on the street that end up being like some of the kindest people you'll meet. I have a, I think everything's on a case by case basis. You got to look, so there are plenty of people that are on the street. They could get off the street if they wanted to. I knew a guitar player that was an unbelievable guitar player, and it would be the easiest thing in the world if he could just be consistent and reliable. He would have a job. Like he could pay all his bills with his guitar, no doubt about it. But he couldn't bring himself to get off the street. All right, I'm drifting here. I think at this point I'm gonna play the song, and we'll take another stab at this next Monday. Here, I've got a few meditations comments. I'll read these. If you don't see the leader that you're looking for in the world, that means the leader you're looking for is you. If you're sitting there wondering what you should do, get up and do something. Just get up and do something. Do anything. Do something. Just get up and do something, and that'll help. Capitalism is a fine system, but believing greed can be harnessed as a motivating force without consequence is a fool's game. I feel like there's a battle always between like socialism, capitalism. I think the systems themselves aren't really inherently good or evil. They're just different, and it's really the makeup of the people that drive those systems. That's the thing that actually matters. But it's always interesting to hear people's arguments. When they're saying, like people say, capitalism is bad because it's about greed. There's certain truths to the different things that people say. But anyway, food for thought. Let's see. I got a couple more meditation. A question to clarify. I'm just reading these now. I haven't read them for a little bit. I think I wrote them within the last few weeks or something. A question to clarify the identity of a debate. Are we engaging in a semantic war or an intellectual exchange? Semantic war sets out to destroy, while intellectual exchange blesses both sides with better ideas and maybe even friends. That is probably the best one that media could learn, that media could wake up to these days, because that's what you see everywhere is semantic war or just ideological war. That so many of the conversations that you see taking place are not intellectual discussions. They never get to that point. They're just ideological war or semantic war from the beginning. And you have two people that already identify themselves as opponents or enemies, and it's so dumb because we're not opponents or enemies. We're all human beings. You morons. we're all people. Like if there's anybody we should care about on this planet, I think I tend to agree. I'm not vegetarian. Maybe I will be one day. But I tend to agree that even across animal species, we're so much the same. You look in the eyes of different animals of almost any kind, and you can see there's a depth there that you can't. That's the same. It's the same, and so. But at least we could say that you could look at another person and say that's kind of like me. We're kind of the same, and so we should be looking out for each other's best interest. It's stupid to have enemies in other people. It's the nature of the world. It will always be that way. It will. It just will. There's no way that every single person that ever exists is going to be ethical and good. We're capable of the full spectrum, but you would hope that more often than not, you could look across and realize that other creature is something that's basically exactly like you, and so there's no reason we shouldn't be able to work together across cultures, across countries. It's funny. I'm like I'm not a globalist, but I'm a globalist. I don't believe in globalism in a certain sense. Like feel like a lot of the globalists, or what globalists really means, is just they're just people that are looking for power. It's people that want power over the entire world, and so that I don't believe in at all. I think that's crazy. It's corrupt. It's that would be really bad, and so that's potentially what the technologies that we have create the opportunity for, is it creates the opportunity for globalists to genuinely control the world. That didn't used to be possible, because you couldn't communicate with the whole world. Like that, it used to be a thing where if your society got so big, it would collapse because it couldn't withstand. There was no way to quickly communicate throughout your entire civilization, and so then you'd have what you could call them. You would have certain areas that would corrupt or turn against you because it's too hard. You can't maintain control over that broad of an area. But now with technologies like cameras, AIs that are going to be able to listen to what you're saying through your phone and know and have opinions about, or at least have programmable opinions about whether what you're doing is right or wrong. I mean, that power in the wrong hands could be the dystopia everybody fears, for sure. So that's not the dystopia that is feared about in movies. Where not everybody fears it. A lot of people don't think that that's realistic or would happen, but I think 100% it could. Yeah. So one of the ways we will make sure that doesn't happen is by intellectual exchange. What's up? Hood and N. I don't know when you threw that comment. I just noticed it. So something to think about in your daily life, because I don't think whatever it is that you go through on a day-to-day basis, just think about, are you engaging in, if you're ever having a conflict, a disagreement, or any kind of conversation, are you engaging in semantic or ideological war? Or are you actually having an intellectual exchange? And that goes back to what I was talking about earlier with reacting versus responding. Even if the other person wants an ideological war, even if the other person wants a battle, you don't have to go there. And you could just try to present. You don't have to take that energy from that other person. You just it's there, but that's on them. You don't have control over that, and you don't have to worry about that. You don't never have a conversation with them again. If they're not capable, or if they demonstrate a pattern of not being able to have respectful conversation, you never have to enter into conversation with them again. And I think that's what all these media companies should do, is that they should stop having these people on that clearly want ideological wars. Like and this goes for the people that I actually have respect for in the media, that seem to be wanting positive conversations or want to make a positive difference. Plenty of them still have people that are acting ridiculous on their shows, and I don't think there's any need for that. If people show that that's their mode, why platform them? Why? It's not really even about that. Like, why give them the time of day? You're just probably wasting time. And there's so many people in the world. Why not give them time? Well, apparently, yeah. I mean, that's why I do this, is to turn people on. So I'm glad I was able to do that for you. I hope you had a really good experience. That's a response to a comment out there that's I'm not going to repeat, but if you're on YouTube, it's there for you. All right. I got one more meditation here. All right. There's many people to blame and thank. There's many people to blame and thank for why you are the way you are. and why your life is the way it is. But at some point, the primary blessing and curse in your life is you. And so I'll dig at this just a little bit. I think that's sort of in some way that's when you become an adult, is you just take responsibility for everything and you don't blame anybody else. And you just say, whatever happens in my life, I'm going to take responsibility for that. Because in other words, what you're saying is, I'm going to control what I can control, and I'm not going to blame anybody else, and I leave it with God. I leave it, if I ever get to see St. Peter or whatever your belief is, if I ever get to have that moment of justice, I could talk to the Creator, say, you know what, these things weren't fair, this wasn't fair, but you let them be the judge. And then for you, just push forward and do the best you can. And then you take responsibility for the things you control, and you stop blaming others. Now, I still think that you can't just ignore everything else that everyone else does. Like, there's a certain way that blame needs to be appropriately assessed, but it needs to be understood in the right way, because you don't need to blame others and say it's your fault. It's you did it. With this sort of resentful or revengeful kind of energy. Let that go. Let that go. You can look at and try to understand appropriately what were the causes of different problems, what created negative results in your life, and so that you can try to avoid those things in the future, but then respect those people anyway and love those people anyway, even the people that wronged you, even the people that did wrong, because the truth is, that's everyone. That's you, that's me, that's all of us. It doesn't matter how hard you try, you're going to be an imperfect person, you're going to make mistakes. So hopefully at least you hold yourself to a standard where you try to do the right thing at all times. And I bet you even then, you don't, I don't, none of us do, because we all have different moments where we let things get the best of us. And we feel like this isn't fair, and so you try to take things into your own hands. And I think, there are some situations maybe that call for taking things into your own hands, but for the most part, you can move through life with that more responsive versus reactive energy, responding to things, taking time to think about what's going on here. Is this person hurting? Is this truly a personal thing? That this and this is a threat to me that I have to address and I have to acknowledge, or is this I'm just crossing paths with somebody that is suffering in a certain way, and I can actually be patient with them and not take it personally, and this really isn't going to have that big of an impact on my life unless I choose to let it mess up my day. So all right, some meditations for you guys, and with that, I'm going to play this song, and then I got to go drop off my guitar. This is a song that I recorded, maybe a couple years ago. I don't know that this is the best recording, but it's not bad, and I hope you enjoy it. It's called When I Touch Your Hand. So this is for Infernal Days, When I Touch Your Hand. And so I wrote this song about infernal days. And that's all I'll say about this song is, if you have had a special somebody, for me, I'm married, and when I just hold my wife's hand, it's one of the best things that I've ever experienced in my life, and it just is, and so I guess with that, I'll just play this song. Here it is. It's called When I Touch Your Hand. When I touch your hand, I return to heaven again. When I touch your hand, what I feel, no words can say. My worries slip away. slip away. Everything in the past, I'm gonna let it be past. Everything in the past, I'm gonna let it be past. What's in the past, now I can let it be past. Alright, you guys, quick summary on that song. Well, I haven't listened to that song a little bit. Like I said, I recorded it a few years ago. I feel like there's things that could do better about the recording. Looking forward to doing a lot more recording this year. I've built this thing that I call the Space Arc. Let me know what you think, what you thought about the song. And but yeah, it's a simple song in a lot of ways, and maybe the heart of it. It's like there's a connection. It's a physical and a spiritual connection. And for me, I feel that just when I hold my wife's hand. And it might sound cheesy to you or whatever, but I'm telling you, it just is what it is. And when I hold her hand, it's like it reminds me of something. It teaches me of something that just grounds me, and it just helps me. And it's hard to explain, and it's really, really cool. And yeah, I guess in the song it talks about at the end I like that little refrain. For a long time I tried to write songs that were really intellectual, and I've written some. I think the one I'll play next Monday is called "On My Own," and it's actually a rap song. It's a little bit different than maybe a lot of rap, but anyway, it's my rap song. It's called "On My Own," and so I'll play that one, and that one's a lot more intellectual, and then I've got some other songs that I'll share. So I'll be doing this every Monday, you guys, from 8 to 8:30 a.m. This is my podcast called Noah's Groovecast, and I'm just going to talk about these different things like I did today. Different thoughts and meditations that I write down when I go on runs, things that I'm thinking about our culture, our society, and maybe psychology and stuff like that. And so, yeah, the refrain at the end is just everything in the past, I'm going to let it be past. Everything what's in the past, I'm going to let it be past. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe we can leave it there, and I'll go drop off my guitar. I got to go get it set up. uh, but that you let things happen, and you can try to understand them, but then let what's in the past be in the past, and focus on now. There's an idea that I've heard people talk about that I like a lot about, that truly there now is all we have. People say there is no such thing as past, or there is no such thing as future. There's just now. And in a technical way, I think that that's actually true. And but I think where those people lose it a little bit is there's also truth that what's in the past affected, what's now. And what happens now is going to affect what will happen in the future. But regardless, there's a certain point in time you can hold on to things for too long. And so that goes to another song of mine called Get on the Upbeat, which I played last week. And so anyway, with that, you guys, this podcast was supposed to be 30 minutes. It ended up being about an hour. Maybe an hour is about right. We'll see. This is episode 32, or really the second one of this format. So just want to say thanks to everybody that tuned in today. Hope you guys have a good day. Mondays, 8 a.m. We'll just say 8 a.m. start time. 8 a.m. And maybe see you guys again, some of you next Monday. And thanks for tuning in. Have a good week, you guys. Part of the reason I wanted to pick Monday is just it's a good day. It's the start of the week, and figured I'd start out in the mornings, try to get up and go run, and start off with some thought and just good thoughts, good ideas that try to get things moving in a good positive direction. Last thing I'll say is I'm meeting on Thursday with an artist called Tim Falvey, and so I am going to be doing some features. I'm not going to do live interviews like I've done in the past, but I will be doing some features. And like we did in this episode, and what I'll be doing in every single one, is playing one song at some point during the episode, and we'll talk about that song a little bit. This one I barely talked about, but Tim had a band or an artist name called Uncle Tim's Bench. And I'm gonna meet with him at the bench, and we're gonna talk about his song Reveille. And the sort of focal line of Reveille is gotta get up. And he gets when I'm gonna play it. I've got a recording that's a full band recording of his song, and you'll see what I mean when you hear it. The way what he does, you just feel it, and you gotta get up. And it's to me, it's an anthem for artists. But it's really more than that. It's just for anybody. The onus is on you. If you want something to happen in your life, there's probably nobody that's going to make it happen. It's you. It's up to you to make it happen, and you got to get up. And that's kind of the focus of his song, and it's a powerful song. So I look forward to sharing that. Maybe next Monday, I'm going to be meeting with him and doing a short interview and update. He has, as of a few years ago, moved from here to New York City. So a little update on him and his artist journey, and then just kind of a dive into that song. Have a good Monday, you guys. Have a good week. Let's go. See you guys next time. Peace out. Thanks for stopping by. Have a good one, everybody. Later.